Yeah. Hi, I'm Keith Kilgore, and yeah, you can chit chat.
Yeah, it's Keith and Reggie Watts. They're on the channel Because We Care. Keith's been on here a few times. Reggie hasn't yet, and Sam's gonna sit his ass down here. We're gonna talk an STP band review, and we brought these dudes on because they listen to, and this guy, STP's his favorite band. So we thought we'd bring him on. So, yeah, I'm gonna start my Cannibal Corpse shirt talking about Stone Temple Pilots. I think this is one of the better grunge bands, and it's one of the only grunge bands that I still kind of listen to. I would probably put them like second behind Alice in Chains to me, but I only really can get into their first two albums. I can't get into the other four besides maybe a couple songs. You know, I don't know why. I mean, yeah, every album's different, and that's cool, you know, that they keep things fresh and just change shit up, but the first two albums are just so, like, flawless to me, and they have so many good songs that are, like, songs that also aren't even on the radio that people might not know, like, off of Core or Purple. Like, there's some really badass songs and just that have a lot of just melody and beautiful atmosphere to them, such as, you know, you hear this song on the radio all the time, Interstate Love Song too, but the beginning of that, and this whole song just has so much atmosphere, and that's the Stone Temple Pilots that I love. I just can't get into, especially I cannot get into their new album. I know this, he burnt me a copy a long time ago when it came out, and I listened to it a couple times, and I just did not like it in any way, shape, or form. I still don't like it, and I won't like it. It's just something about it. I just cannot get into it, and that just kind of goes with the other albums as well. But the first two albums are just incredible. I love this band's just overall sound. Scott Weiland he's an amazing singer though. Whether he's done heroin out the ass or anything like that, like his voice is beautiful, and even when he's in Velvet Revolver, his voice is beautiful. But the first two albums, that's where it's at, man.
I guess it's my turn. I have probably the least experience with STP here. I really only listen to Purple. Even then, I've only listened to a little bit of it. Yeah, I agree with Tyler. This is probably one of the top grunge bands. And I mean, it's kind of cool because they're still kind of around. I mean, didn't they recently just reunite with Scott?
2008, yeah.
They just recently reunited with Scott. You know, he was with Velvet Revolver. And yeah, this band, by what I've heard, which is a little bit, I just love it because they're kind of heavy, but they're not like, you know, it's not as like Alice in Chains, but then it's a little bit more, you know, I can walk up to most people and be like, hey, have you heard, you know, probably Vaseline or Interstate Love Song? They'll be like, yeah, that's a good song. So it's like one of those bands that's not that hard to get into. I've heard a little bit of like from some of the other albums, and the only thing that's kind of weird about them with me is how, you know, their style is different every single album, which, you know, is all right, but I mean, it's weird for me because, you know, my head can't wrap it around it. But yeah, I like this band. I'm done.
Okay, my turn. Well, I actually started listening to STP through the album Purple. Keith's the only album Keith actually knows, I guess. And I went back and listened to Core, and as these guys have been mentioning, that all their albums are different genres, I like looking at all the albums as whole pieces individually. Like, and I don't consider them a grunge band, really. Think about it. Like, yes, the first album, very grungy. Sounds like the album. Sounds like every other grunge album of the time, basically. They were called like third-rate Pearl Jam, you know, like Nirvana knockoffs. But this whole album, I just really think I think Core in general really spoke to the whole genre of the music more so than some of the Nirvana albums and Alice in Chains albums of the time. Just saying. Purple, they took it in a completely different direction, which I love the direction they took it in because it sounds so much more like nostalgic almost, and added a lot more, I guess, just not as heavy sounding guitar parts, but more like melodic almost. And this whole album is just Purple is a beautiful album to listen to. It's one of my all-time favorite albums, and it always will be. But then they moved on to more of a kind of like a poppy style, which is weird, which was like what I feel like Tiny Music from the Vatican Gift Shop was. And that has one of Tyler's favorite songs, Trip on a Paper Heart, in it, which I honestly think is one of STP's best guitar solos, one of my favorite sounding ones. And from there they went to number 4, which wasn't really, it's not more my style, but you have to be an STP fan to like their later stuff. You really do. Like they said, it changes constantly. They kept changing their style. And you go from, even on that album, you go from like the song Down, which is STP's heaviest song, to like their, one of the most poppy, well-known radio songs, Sour Girl. You know? 2 different styles in the same album, which I thought was interesting. And then you go to Shangri-La-Dee-Da, which is like completely poppy and just, you totally have to be an STP fan to listen to that, bottom line. Just saying. And the newest album, which I got pirated a few days before it even came out, because I wanted it so bad, and I copied, like everybody I knew, a copy of it, because I did like some of the songs on it. Like I said, it was New Direction, like they always have taken things. But some of the songs on the new album, like Cinnamon, like Pump Me Up, and like something like Between the Lines, you know, the big hit off that album, I guess. And what goes to show about STP over the years is that they've changed their style several times, and they still make hits and been successful at it too. And they are one of the most you don't hear the name STP a lot, but you hear their songs on the radio all the time. They are one of the most played radio bands that I feel are not overplayed. And I love personally driving down the road listening to STP. There's nothing better than that. Interstate Love Song, Big Empty, classics. So if you're out there, young children, people, I don't know what I want to call you, give STP a chance. You will not regret it.
Alright, I'll agree with Reggie. First of all, on their first album, Core,
Yes.
being kind of thrown into the whole grunge scene, I guess, because the first time, I was young and stupid, but the first time I ever heard the song Creep, I honestly thought Nirvana played that song, because it's very Nirvana-ish, and it's really depressing, you know, slow, and, you know, just grungy, I guess. But, I guess after that album, they had a couple hits on there, and they really got thrown into the grunge scene, and they got big then, you know, a bunch of hits on that album, definitely. Then I feel like after that, they kind of wanted to define themselves more and move away from just, you know, being thrown into the mid-early 90s scene where every band just sounds dirty and eventually kind of gets just mixed in with each other. But, I feel like this album, this band does belong in the so-called Big Four of grunge, which in my opinion is Alice in Chains, of course, Nirvana. I'm gonna go on a limb and say Soundgarden, and then Stone Temple Pilots.
Pearl Jam.
Pearl Jam, I like them, but they're more of just a soft rock band. I always consider them a little soft rock with a grunge touch. I mean, they're not like all completely grunge. I guess they could fit in there, but I always just considered Soundgarden a little more grungy in a way, I guess. But the Big Five, I'll make Pearl Jam an exception. But I feel like this band definitely earned a spot in there with their first album, and maybe in a way their second album. But I feel after that they really moved on to a more opened up band, not just strictly 90s sounding. They really put their songs out on the radio, more so. They opened up to, you know, just whatever they wanted to do. They picked any direction they wanted to go in, and they went in it. But I feel I listened to their newest album. I didn't think it was too bad. I thought it was a decent listen if you like Stone Temple Pilots, give it a shot. But if you want more dirty rock sounding Stone Temple Pilots, definitely their first two albums, but if you want to dive into Stone Temple Pilots a little more and really experience what else they have to offer, any of their other albums would be a great listen. But as far as I can say about this band is that they're just really, I don't see how anyone could really dislike this band. They have a lot of great aspects that they can offer to a very welcoming ear, I could say. But whether you're just looking for rock or driving music or just sitting down and listening, I mean, this is a great band for all of that. Don't they have two brothers in this band?
Robert and Dean DeLuca.
It's not all about Scott.
Scott just likes heroin.
Yeah. It usually is all about Scott, but this time it's not.
This band, out of all the grunge bands, though, does have the biggest wide range of material. Like, more diversity and all that. Like, you look at Alice in Chains, or Pearl Jam, or Soundgarden. Like, you know, they all kind of kept a consistent sound for the most part through all of their stuff. And Stone Temple Pilots changes it up
You guys
a lot.
You guys even said, like, you're kind of classifying almost Core and Purple as kind of the same style, really. Like, they're even, like, different in a lot of ways, too, if you look at them. Like, I consider them two entirely different pieces. I look at all of the albums separately, guys. So it's how you have to do it.
Yeah. Here we can get into a completely different thing, but I don't see how this band sounds like in any way.
No.
In one song, this band blows Nirvana away in talent in every single one.
Creep, kind of.
I don't
guess
see
if
that.
You're
I
really
don't
young
see that.
and you just hear them, and you've never heard of Stone Temple Pilots, and you've heard a couple Nirvana songs here and there, you could think like, oh, this is slow, this is kind of depressing, this is sort of whiny. Nirvana, in a way. It has touches of Nirvana.
Maybe touches,
I
but
didn't
I just
even know
never
who Stone Temple Pilots was, so I just thought it was Nirvana. But, yeah. When I was like 11, it's a stupid age. So, something like that.
And another point is, the Big Four, they call it the Big Four because they're all from Seattle, basically, except for STP,
Big
which
Five.
STP is not from Seattle. STP is from San Francisco. Or no, sorry, what am I thinking? San Francisco. They're from
San Diego?
San Diego, yes. The non-gay one. Sorry. Yes.
One with the zoo.
Yes. But I feel like they fit well with all those bands up north, and I feel like their style is a lot like theirs. But I feel like after 1992, and you know, Alice in Chains had Facelift, STP had Core, and Soundgarden had, what was it, Bad Motorfinger or whatever it was, and Pearl Jam had 10, and Nirvana had Nevermind, right? I feel like those albums all kind of the same genre, but after that, all the bands kind of went, you know, their own different ways. Alice in Chains kind of stayed heavy. Pearl Jam went more to their lighter kind of rock. STP kept changing their genre constantly.
Nirvana
died.
Nirvana, Kurt Cobain shot himself.
Soundgarden.
Sound-
Another Soundgarden.
I can't really. I never got into Chris Cornell, honestly, and his vocals, because Scott Weiland just blew me away with his,
Actually,
how he changed his voice.
I was gonna throw this in. Big Five. What about Collective Soul? I love Collective Soul. Well, at least in my mind, if there ever was a grunge band that completely personifies grunge, it's Collective Soul.
If we make it the Big Six, then make it the Big Seven for the Screaming Trees.
There we go. All right, fine. Big Seven. We got it.
Fine. Through this. But also, it is all about Scott Weiland in some ways.
Yeah.
I do think he is a good performer when he's not high or drunk, which is very, very seldom. But I feel like his on-stage performance is really well, and he changes his style in vocals and appearance all the time, which leads to people to call him the chameleon, which is basically what he is. He basically changes his shit all the time.
Yeah.
But he's a good aspect to the band. As long as he can stay sober and clean, I feel like STP has several good years ahead of them still, and I'm looking forward to new good music from them.
Yeah.
And they're just now celebrating their 20th anniversary of Core, which we've spoken up about.
Yeah.
And they're touring on that, and they're looking forward to making a new album possibly, which I certainly hope
Hopefully
is,
soon.
I hope is true. So
Is that it?
that's all, I guess.
Yeah.
From
You can close this out.
This is your show.
Weekly metal reviews.